My name is Tim Morehouse. I'm an Olympic silver medalist in the sport of fencing, and I'm from the Bronx, New York. When I came from Harlem to Riverdale, I was really struggling in school, even though I'd gone to a really good public school. Kind of the academic environment of Riverdale was really a challenge. And one day I was walking down the hall and I saw a sign that said, "Join the fencing team, get out of PE." And without really knowing what it was, I went and was just sort of hooked. And it was a huge moment in my life. Fencing was really the moment that turned the light on for me. I was a kid who was struggling in school. I was a kid who mumbled. I had very low self-confidence, and something about finding this sport just really changed my life. We did a survey of people who started fencing, and a huge number of people started because they saw Pirates of the Caribbean, they saw Zorro, and they saw Star Wars. So we're really excited with new Star Wars movies coming out. You have all these kids who are going to watch these amazing lightsaber battles, and they're going to want to be sword fighters themselves. And now we've got a sport that they can do it in. I mean, anyone can walk into a classroom, and I think this is one of the benefits of sports in general. The light is on with kids when they're playing sports and they're doing different activities like dance and music. You see them engage and really thinking about, how do I do this better, in a way that you sometimes don't often see in the formalized classroom. And I think you learn as much from doing an activity, whether it's a sport or dance or music, as you do sitting behind a desk. Yeah, you've got to learn those skills too, but there's something about putting a foil in a kid's hands that just, as I mentioned, just turns a light on for them. And I see it, and that's why I'm so passionate about we've got to get foils in every kid's hand. Steve Jobs wanted a computer in every home. I want a foil in every kid's hand around the country. I fell into teaching, kind of similar to fencing. I learned about this program called Teach for America. I thought back on my own education and how lucky I was to have really great teachers, and I wanted to give back. And so I started teaching 7th grade in New York City as a social studies teacher. A lot of our Olympic athletes are unbelievable role models. They're amateur athletes, they're training, they're pursuing their dream, they're overcoming these amazing challenges. You're not born an Olympian. Everyone who's out there started out somewhere. They weren't good when they started. They went through challenges, they've lost. I mean, I've been through all of that. I went through years of losing to get to the Olympics. So it's how do we humanize that for kids and let them know it's not that you're going to start amazing at something. No, you're going to be bad when you start something. You're going to be a beginner. It's going to take you hours of work. It's going to take thoughtful practice. It's going to take all these things. And that's what I want to be the educator of around the country, is education on these leadership skills, on these learning skills, and this process you have to go through if you want to be an Olympian or a doctor or whatever it is you want to do. I was not good at fencing for a long time. I was just doing something I loved to do, following a passion, and part of that, following that passion, was how do I keep getting better? So I went to Division III school that had never had an Olympian in any sport. I had a style that people made fun of. My first team ever was the 2004 Olympic team. Usually you're on cadet teams, you're college scholarship, and doing all these junior level things. I wasn't on any of those. Just being at the Olympics is very surreal. I always tell people it's kind of like, if you've read Chronicles of Narnia, it's like you're just entering this magical world, and it doesn't seem real. And when you're there competing, it's you have those moments where you're just this can't be, because you watch the Olympics your childhood, and it just seems like this unapproachable thing. But it took me a long time to get there, and you have to be willing to fail and get up, and fail and get up, and fail and get up, and keep going, and to learn in those failures too. Sometimes it's hard, right? You fail and you just want to forget about it, but you kind of have to do the opposite. You have to kind of turn into it and think about why did this not go well, and pull out sometimes what can be really hard lessons, but those are the most powerful ones. After the Beijing Olympics, we won our medal. I really looked around and saw the opportunity for fencing to take this momentum and to grow. So I started to participate in as many programs as I could. Wherever we could get fencing in, I was trying to bring it. They were trying to get the Olympics in Chicago. They wanted to have an event in the White House to really promote the Olympic Games, and I think we had shown we could do a great job, and they invited us to come. And then it was really all the president. So we set up our fencing strip in front of the White House. There was a bunch of Olympic sports there, and when he was making his opening remarks, he was pointing at us. He's I always wanted to do fencing, and then he came over and was really curious, and we showed him some of the moves, and you see this picture that actually went around the world of the president it's actually stabbing me with a lightsaber. I wasn't sure what we could bring into the White House, so we brought in the sabers, lightsabers, foam. They actually let us bring it all in. People always ask, is it safe? I'm yeah, it's safe. We taught the president to fence, so if they let us bring sabers into the White House, that should tell you. when they first contacted me and they're like, oh, would you want to be in a commercial, with Serena Williams and the Rockettes? It's like, okay, let me not scream on this phone. Starring in Chase commercial as a fencer is sort of this breakthrough moment for obviously myself and for the sport of fencing. Fencing hasn't typically been utilized by companies, especially in marketing. For fencing to grow, we have to have these grassroots programs, but we also have to be kind of in the public awareness, and I think the Chase commercial really elevates people's public awareness of fencing. I hope I just live up to that potential of how many kids I think we can help, and I just view this commercial as another aspect of that. Bank at Chase and fence. So this is sort of recently I became Goodwill ambassador for the World Games. They're going to be in Los Angeles this summer in July. This is a huge opportunity, I think, to raise awareness for people with mental disabilities. This is the biggest event LA has held since the actual Olympics. And I think Los Angeles is a great place for this, and they've really embraced it when I've been out there. One thing, there's no fencing right now in the Special Olympics, so I've been talking to them, and we're going to work on that too, because I think fencing will be a fantastic sport for the Special Olympics. It won't be in this World Games, but I definitely hope to make that happen in the future and to take an even bigger role in being an ambassador for fencing within the Special Olympics. One of the biggest changes in my fencing career was just embracing that my style was different. For a long time, people told me the way that I fenced was wrong, or you can't fence that way. And I tried to be like everyone else, and it just wasn't working. And then there was sort of this moment where, again, you just have these light switch moments where I just was like, what if I just embrace who I am? My moves look different. What would happen? And I went from, finishing in the 50s in these World Cup competitions to starting to make finals and then helping my team win the silver medal in Beijing. So everyone has different strengths. Everyone is different, and everyone has to embrace that. Hey, you know what? Look at your classmate to the left and right. They're going to have different strengths, different passions, different loves, and that's all right. That's normal. You don't all have to be the same. When I started fencing, my first coach, Martin Schneider, was really a huge influence on me. I think the way he approached life, he's someone that was, he was always smiling, and you could just tell he was enjoying what he was doing. He was doing what he loved to do. And that was a huge lesson for me, and he really supported me as I was starting to fence. He was actually a teacher, and he was a fencer. He fenced for NYU. That always struck me about how lucky I was to have this person when I was in school, just seeing the best in me, even when I wasn't there. When I started fencing, I was just sort of running around the room, and I had no skill, and I was fencing the movies, like Zorro, which is not at all how you're supposed to fence. You don't make it to the Olympics by yourself, so you can't underestimate those people that, when you don't even have confidence in yourself, they're there to be like, look, this is where you can go, and he's one of those people for me. I think one of the reasons I was able to make the Olympics is I had the goal to make the Olympics, and when I made it, I really looked back and saw how few people actually, even people that were considered better than me, more talented than me, they just thought it was too hard and never really set the goal to go and went for it. Really, everything I try to do, it's all about going for the gold, and that's just not an Olympic thing. That's anything you do thing. I want to do it at the best that I can do it, and that's the Olympic motto. It's higher, faster, stronger. Right? It's not the strongest, fastest, highest, but it's you need to do everything at the best that you can do it, and I think that's an important message and one I try to embody.